They say internet created so many millionaires, but AI will create way more millionaires than the internet did. Is that true?
AI doesn't get tired. AI doesn't need a break. AI doesn't go on sick leave. AI doesn't have relationship problems. Yes. AI doesn't have meltdowns. Because of this first mover advantage, because it's so novel right now, you can actually go and make a really big difference and make a big impact because the market is there to be taken. The market is there to be created.
Yeah.
It's up to you to take advantage of those opportunities by adding value, genuine value. This is the 5 pillars that helped Taher, who was earning about 30 grand as an Uber driver, with no previous qualifications, no academic qualifications. The only other experience he'd had before that was working in the family restaurant. Yeah. Go from being an Uber driver to earning 6 figures as a world-class private pro and flying on private jets right now. You have to have the right mindset. And when we talk about mindset, everyone thinks, oh, it's hoo-ha, it's all of this stuff. But there is something called a fixed mindset and there's something called a growth mindset. The only limitations you set are the ones you set for yourself. Like you can be, do and have anything you want. If you believe you can do it, find a way to do it. The only things you can't do are the things that you convince yourself that you can't. They're proud to see me going about my stuff, conducting myself as a Muslim, being apparently Muslim and making sure that I'm putting my faith first.
From growing up in one of the Manchester's toughest neighbourhoods to becoming one of the UK's leading expert in data, privacy and cybersecurity, Jamal Ahmed's journey is a masterclass in resilience and reinvention. In this episode, we dive into how he escaped a world of crime and chaos through books, mindset and faith, and how that path led him to build a global privacy consultancy trusted by major organizations. We talked about the hidden dangers of online world and how your data is being used to manipulate you, why privacy is core Islamic value, and how ordinary people can protect themselves in a digital age. This is the story of Jamal Ahmed and the mindset behind turning struggle into purpose. This episode of PCHM is proudly brought to you by Yafa Limited, your premier source of authentic Palestinian produce and finest quality dates in the UK. Jamal, Jazakallah khair for joining me. Would you like to tell us about yourself a bit, please?
That's quite a big question. What would you like to know specifically?
About your life. Go on.
Wow, about my life. Let's stick to the professional bit.
Sure,
for now,
yeah, of course.
So, alhamdulillah, I'm the #1 ranked privacy professional in the UK, international best-selling author, and a AI governance and data privacy consultant. There's 2 areas to my vocation. We have the consultancy side, which is catering privacy experts, and that's when we go and help businesses and manage their data, build the trust, protect themselves so fine. And on the other side, we have the academy, which is the Privacy Pros Academy, helping individuals, professionals who are ambitious, who want to really make a difference, who want a rewarding, challenging career to become world-class privacy professionals.
Brilliant. So, mashallah, you are so successful right now, but I want to go back to like when you were a child. Like, how were you as a child? Like, and what was your view about the world? What you used to think about the world we are living in as a child?
Yeah, so great question. So growing up, life was very difficult. I come from a really poor background. My father married my mother and he came over here. So first couple of years of my life, my mom was raising me as a single parent. I was actually born just outside of Manchester in a tiny little village called Rothenstall, and not a lot goes on there. Like when I go and visit my aunts who still live there, like you go to the bathroom, you look out the window, you can see cows on the field. Like that's how rural it was. And so we moved here when we was quite young, and because my dad was unsettled, we were just moving to lots of different parts of London. So I haven't really settled down my roots anywhere, and I was always changing friends. But growing up as the first oldest child, I had a lot of responsibility, so I had to kind of help my father with the family businesses, and he made the best decisions he could with what he did. But we was always struggling. But most of my childhood was spent growing up in Stepney Green, right, in an estate called the Ocean Estate. You might be familiar with it. So every time I say Bengal House, everyone remembers. So there was this notorious estate in Stepney Green called Ocean Estate.
Right.
And it was terrible. It was terrible. In fact, it was so bad that I think the government did this new deal for communities. They knocked the whole down and started building it back up again. And the key challenge was you would wake up and there would be, so I used to live in a block, and you'd see people just dragged out on the stairs. You have to go past them. You're walking down, you see car doors getting smashed. And everybody was either taking drugs or selling drugs around where I live. In fact, one of my neighbors was a drug dealer in the area, and it would be quite regular for the police to raid them. So growing up in that kind of area where people are going around graffitiing, smoking drugs, doing all of this vandalism, and the kids around me, they were aspiring to be thugs, right? So they used to go around graffitiing STP everywhere, Stepney, Thug, Passion, listening to hip hop and all those things. And that was the life. Like that was what you was doing. And you'd be looking for other people who were coming to go and beat them up for street cred. And it was a terrible environment to grow up in. And I think if it hadn't been for my parents taking me and embedding me into the family business, where I was pretty bored. And so what I used to do is I would read lots of books. And it got to a stage where I'd kind of read most of the books in the library, Bancroft Library, and they would order books in for me. And I think that's what helped me to understand and get away from this very closed East London drug dealing mindset. And the more I read, the more I learned about the world and about what's possible and how life could be and about, business and politics. And I came across this one book on hypnosis and thinking. And I was like, what do you mean thinking? Everyone's just the way they are, isn't it? And actually, who we are is a result of the patterns of thought that we have. And so if you want to change who you are, if you want to change your reality and you want to change your results, you just got to change the thoughts. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And then there used to be this Saturday morning.
How old were you then that time? Like,
I think I was in my teenagers by then.
Oh, okay.
But there used to be this Saturday evening show. I don't know if you remember a guy called Paul McKenna. And he used to bring people on stage and hypnotize them and make them clap like a chicken and forget their names and do all of these things. And I found it fascinating. And the more I looked into that, and I looked into NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, the more fascinated I became. And I was like, you can do and have anything you want. It's just a case of having the right mindset, having the right mentors, having the right people around you. But being in Stepney Green, none of those skills are available. I mean, I was the first person in my family to go to university, and that was a challenge in itself. Just being able to fund that and the whole thing that came with it. It was easy to get distracted and do what everyone else was doing, is play football, spend some time in the streets. Everyone was inviting you, it was around you. But a couple of things I took away from that. Number one was resilience. I could see how hard people around me were working to try and change and bring around a change and a change to people's lifestyles. And there are certain families and certain parents that were actually trying really hard. So I was like, I could see the resilience. I could see that odds were stacked against them. But I learned a few things from the drug dealers and the people taking drugs.
What did you learn from drug dealers? It's good that you're taking something positive out of it.
What I learned from them was relationships is very important. You have to maintain relationships and you have to maintain your network. Like it's not who you know, it's what you know. And it's not who knows you, it's not who you know, but who knows you. And your name has to be known in rooms and places that you're not. And that's where that credibility comes from. Okay. And the other thing I noticed from the people taking drugs is their work ethic. They're resilient, right? And just how optimistic they were. You can't go to any drug addict that's on crack cocaine or anything and tell them that they're not going to get another hit. They know their next hit is coming. They don't know how it's going to happen. They will find a way, whether it's honestly or dishonestly, they find a way. And so when I used to find myself being down and I was like, this is not happening. I was like, you're not going to get outworked by a drug addict. Like a drug addict is not going to beat you. They don't give up. They know it's going to happen. They keep going until they find a way. So I think all of those things shaped me to be brave, to be courageous, to not be intimidated easily, and to forge your own path.
So what was that, any particular moment in your youth, like you were like, okay, this is I'm growing up with whatever happening around me, but I've been made for something different. I've got higher, I need to get somewhere better than what's going on around me.
I don't think there was one single defining moment, because I still wouldn't say I was just, I left school and I was successful. No, it took a long time to get to where I am now. But I think those things, they kind of stick with you. Those things that kind of stick with you, and the mindset training that I've had, it was like, okay, it's not, you don't have to accept this as your reality. You can change your reality. And the one thing that really stood out to me was it all starts by how we talk to ourselves. And even in Quran and Sunnah, it talks about having your thoughts and being positive, because what you think about, you start speaking. So your thoughts become your words.
Yeah.
Your words becomes your actions. Your actions become your habits, and your habits become your character.
That's
And
correct.
so if you want to think about the character, who do I want to become? What do I want to achieve? Then you have to trace it all the way back and work backwards and start with the kind of thoughts that you're having. That's a great question. That's a great question, because two of the biggest myths about the industry is you either need a legal background, you need to be a lawyer, which I'm not, or you need to have a technical background, again, which I don't, right? So I did go to university. I did do a bachelor's in business with law.
Right.
So I didn't get an LLB. I'm not a trained lawyer. I didn't go to bar school or do the LPC. So I'm not legally qualified in that sense. I had a good understanding. And obviously from life, you have other understanding. From the technical side, I had no technical experience. Like even setting up equipment, I would get my friends who are more technically advanced than me getting into it. And so when I decided I'm going to go into data privacy, everyone was like, "Oh, you can't do it. You either need to be a lawyer or you're." And the thing is, the data privacy industry, when I got into it, it wasn't just.
Well, did you even know this industry exists
No,
like that?
no.
So you tell me about that. How did you get to find out? Because a normal layperson, they won't even think about this. There's an industry out there, and I can make a money out of this.
That's a great question. So I was in compliance. So I was doing like case handling for banks, FOS, those kind of things. So when the bank did something wrong, you'd have a process that you follow, and then you calculate how to make that right. So if the bank owed people money, then you would calculate how much they should pay redress, and then do the interest for 8% a year for, being out of pocket. So that was what I was doing, and it was very boring, right? It was very boring. It was doing the same thing over and over again. I wasn't really using my brain because the systems, the tools pretty much did everything. All I was doing was scraping data and putting it in. The decision came out, and then I had to do the admin. And I was like, is this what my life is about? Is this what I've been educated for? Is this what I've been training for? Is this what I've been preparing for? I was like, I hated my job. I hated my life. I hated waking up in the morning on a Monday morning and thinking, I have to do another week of this. It was so uninspiring. It was so unfulfilling. But what made things really shift was when my wife fell pregnant for the first time. And so I've been married about 5 years up at this point, and we'd been struggling to have a baby. And then from this amazing news, we got news that she's pregnant for the first time. And I was like, wow, I'm going to be a father. And so what kind of example do I want to set for my child? And I was looking back at my kind of life, and I was like, I want so much better for my child. I need to be the person that breaks all of that poverty cycle and some of the cultural challenges that we have, and that cycle breaks with me. That wasn't my intention. And one of those weeks at the Jummah khutbah, the Imam was talking about interest, and he was saying the one who deals with interest, the one who writes interest, is the one who deals with it. And on the day of judgment, you will be given a weapon in your hand, and you'll be asked to go and fight a Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and our Lord. And that scared me. I was like, I'm writing interest, I'm calculating interest, I need to go and do something else. So I went to the Imam and said, hey Imam, this is my job, this is what I'm doing right now, what should I do? Should I quit? He said, no, be sensible, you don't just quit, because you have to.
It was a good Imam.
It was a good
Otherwise, if any other Imam gonna say haram and just
he was like, look, it's good you realize this, and it's good you made the intention. Now you need to follow it up with action, and you need to think about something, because if you're not doing this, then as a man, as a husband, your first job is to provide.
Yeah.
So you're not providing. So find a way out. And so I started looking for opportunities to get out of that into something that would bring a halal income for this child I was about to have. And so I was looking, what can I get into? What are my skills? What's new? And a lot of things was like, I'd have to start again at the bottom. I'd have to start again and work myself up. And I was like, I can't afford to do that. I don't have the time. I have commitments coming up, responsibilities.
Exactly, family, young family.
This is not the time to say, you know what, I'm having a midlife crisis and start again at the bottom. So I was like, I need something that's going to elevate me, or at least maintain the kind of income and lifestyle that I have. And it wasn't a great income or a lifestyle. But I couldn't afford anything less than that without going into a really bad situation. And so I was thinking, what can I find? And then I came across this thing, the GDPR. Somebody was talking about it on LinkedIn. I was like, what is this? And then it was like, oh, this is very interesting. And had some exposure to data protection through some of my other roles, although it wasn't a main part of my role. And I was like, I could do this. This is very interesting. But I was like, I don't want to jump into something only to be here where I hate my job, where there's challenges from my faith point of view. In 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line, I want to know that what I'm going to jump into is going to be the thing. And I believe in it and I'm passionate about it. And I can actually add value and do something. I don't just want to do something and tick the box and go home. I want to make a contribution.
Of course.
I believe that I was built for greater things and I wanted to, really make a difference. And so I started really diving deep into it. And the first thing I had to check was, does it reconcile with our faith?
Yeah.
And so I started looking into it. And the more I looked into data privacy, the more fascinated I become from the Islamic point of view. And
so you were learning from Islamic point of view.
I wanted to see if this, I don't want to be in a situation where I have to fight our Prophet ﷺ again, right? So like, if I'm going to get into this and I'm going to do something with it, I want to go all in, but it has to reconcile with my faith. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck again. And so I started looking into it quite deeply. And what I found when I looked at data privacy is the first kind of rules or laws or anything you have that tells civilized people how to behave was in the Quran, in Surah Light.
And what is
1400 years ago, that was revealed, right? And I was like,
SubhanAllah.
wow, this is amazing. And then I was like, okay, but what does Islam actually say about Islam? And so I came across this story, and I'm going to paraphrase, so forgive me if I don't get this fully 100%. But there was a man who wanted to speak to our Prophet, and so he went to find the Prophet to ask him for advice or whatever it was. And he could see that the Prophet was praying, so he left. And he later found him in the market, and he says to the Prophet, peace be upon him, "Oh, I came to see you, but I noticed you were praying, so I didn't disturb you." And the Prophet says to him, "What do you mean you knew I was praying? Do you mean you peeped inside my house?" He says, "Yes, I could see through the construction."
Yeah.
And he says, "You must never peep into people's house. If you do, and someone wants to throw a stone, and that stone was to strike you and kill you, there would be no sin on that person." So that was really like mind-blowing for me, that, hey, somebody's privacy according to our religion is so sacred.
Yes.
Then this is definitely what I need to do, because I don't believe enough people in my community, enough people that I'm speaking to, value this privacy. And so I was like, okay, then let's see what else. And then I was looking at the Ottoman Empire and how the kind of etiquette and culture they used to have. So even before we get to the Ottoman Empire, our Prophet told the Sahabas not to enter their own properties from the back and to come in through the front door in case they disturb the privacy of their wives. So I was like, wow, this is like his companions, the people that go to war with him. He's telling them, hey, don't go into your own house through the back door just in case you disturb the privacy of people.
Nice.
And so moving forward to the Ottoman Empire and the etiquette, it's like when you knock on somebody's door, they would stand to the side.
Yeah.
Just in case they go in, they can see inside the house and then disturb. Or they see something they're not supposed to see. And you wait for permission for all of these things, and they used to have like knockers and all of these things. And even when you look at some of the way the houses were constructed, so right now, look, you come into the door, we have the door opening against the wall because you want the open space, right? But think about it from if you've seen a very old house, you have the house, but you have the door and you have the wall here, and the door opens and you can't see in the room. Privacy.
Yes.
Right? So someone's come in, you can say, hey, wait there, and they can't see into the room. Whereas now we want open design, and we've forgotten all about those things. So all of these things really fascinated me. And then I was reconciling that with what I knew was happening, people's information getting violated, even by our Muslim charities. Right? And this is one of the saddest things, working closely with charities, is when I was asking to fundraise, people are like, oh, no, I don't want to give because, when they take my phone number, they pass it around, they harass me. I'd rather just give it directly. But I could see the amazing work the charities here were doing. And when you coordinate those efforts, it's much more amplified than you giving a handover to somebody back home, right? And so I was like, we need to do something about this. And I think I can come in and make a difference. And so I decided this data privacy was going to be a thing. Did I have challenges? Yes, I had to apply.
That was my next question.
I had to apply.
How easy or how difficult was it?
It was very difficult. It was very difficult.
Especially as an ethnic person as well.
I applied for 73 roles.
73.
I got rejected and ghosted for 73 roles before I got my first role. And so the first challenge was the industry was dominated by white, middle class, middle-aged lawyers. And if you're not part of that network, it was very hard to even be considered to get in. there was hardly any brown people. Forget about Muslims in the industry. There was hardly any brown,
South Asian.
there was hardly any minority people in the industry. It was really dominated by white, middle-aged lawyers. And I remember when I was trying to get into the industry, they used to have these events. So there's companies selling pools all the time. And this specific company called OneTrust, they grew rapidly. And they used to host these events where you would come, they would host you for breakfast, and then they would have some people speak, and then they would try and sell their tool at the end of it. And so I went to one of these events because that's where all the people, it's an industry event, that's where everyone was going. And I remember going through from the breakfast area into the conference room, and one of these guys, he takes off his jacket and he gives it to me. He gives me his coat. And I took it. I was like, what would you like to do with your coat? He says, oh, would you be so kind enough to put it in the cloakroom, please? I said, yeah, but why can't you do it? It's your jacket. And he's like, oh, are you not part of the catering team? And so people like me, young, brown, Muslim, didn't belong in those rooms.
Yeah.
And so that really, like, it was one of those moments. It was like, wow.
So at that moment, did you doubt yourself? Like any point of time?
I'm very resilient. And at the moment, I was like, you know what? I'm going to come back and I'm going to be the one that you see over there and you realize the kind of mistake you're making. So that was like, I had an intention. Like I didn't even have my first role in the industry, but I was like, I'm going to come and I'm going to do something in this industry. And so things like that give you really good motivation. But then going to events, you're always the minority. People don't even know that you're into privacy because you clearly don't belong. And like, alhamdulillah, I've done these conferences where I've been invited to speak internationally. And I've been not just the only Muslim in the whole city, maybe, but actually the only person of color in the room. And you're like, I'm talking about Latvia and Lithuania. I've been in the conferences where I've been on stage speaking. And then when I'm doing the networking stuff, you could I stick out like a Malteser amongst all of these other people. So the industry, up until recently, and when I say recently, I mean the last 6 to 12 months, has been very one way. And it's been very conservative, and they've had their kind of way of doing things. And that was okay. But what happened was in 2018, the law changed. The GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, came in, and that pool of people that were historically dominating the industry weren't enough to meet the needs of the businesses.
Oh, right.
Everyone had to get compliant, and businesses were paying a lot of attention to this. And historically, what would happen is compliance would come in, lawyers would come in, they would tick the box, do the compliance, speak very legalese, and it wasn't making any sense to the business, and it was a big cost for them. So I was like, I don't like the way compliance is being done. I think it can be done better. I think we can actually take this and make it a strategic business advantage. Instead of telling businesses what they can't do, let's tell them what they can do or how they can do it. Instead of getting business to be worried about
providing them a solution, isn't it? Tell them what...
Not just providing solutions, because the solution is help us not get fined. Okay, but who wants to spend money on not getting fined?
Yeah.
Businesses would rather spend money on investing in something that's going to help them to grow their market share, get more customers, win more trust. So I want to change that from being a tick box compliance, what I call paper privacy pros, to actually being something that adds strategic value to the business. And that was the whole kind of premise I came in with. And one of the ways I found doing that was I would go and see people giving advice, doing training, and as soon as that person left or compliance left, or the lawyer left, people were doing the same thing they was doing anyway. So that was a whole complete waste of time. So when I tried to figure out why that was, it was because they were being spoken at rather than spoken with. Nobody was having conversations with the business. They weren't explaining things to them in a way they could understand. They weren't meeting them where they were. They were saying, hey, I'm the lawyer. I know better than you. This is what you have to do. And they were speaking down at them. And so I changed that whole dynamic, and pretty soon word got around. Hey, if you want to make impact with GDPR, and if you really want to get these things right, that's the guy you need to hire, and that's the guy you need to speak to. And so my work kind of spoke for itself, and from one place to another.
So for example, there's a charity out there, like there's a multi-million pound charity. Their turnover is like, for example, 40 million pound a year kind of thing. So how you're going to help in your capacity to the charity? What help can you provide them?
Okay. So great question. I'll give you some case studies of local charities that I've actually worked with. So the first challenge is you need to be compliant. Not compliant because you're scared of the law or anything, but compliant because it's the right thing to do. It's an amana. When you take money from somebody, You say, hey, I will look after this money and you've given it for this cause and I will make sure it gets used for that cause.
Yeah.
And whether you have 100% donation policy or some other policy, that's irrelevant. But the amana, the trust is there.
Yeah.
But then why are you abusing their data? Why are you not looking after their information? Why are you selling it, sharing it, posting it online, letting your employees walk out with it, harassing them with it? That's also an amana too.
That's right. Yeah.
And so that's the kind of message I took, is like, hey, when you're taking money and you're taking data, you have to treat both things. Both of these things are amana. You would never think about abusing the trust in the money. So why don't you think twice about abusing the data? And especially as faith-based organizations, it's actually a stronger part of your faith than it is anything that you have to be compliant with the Charities Commission, for example. And so I became very unpopular within the Muslim faith-based space because I was advocating for the right thing and they didn't want to do it. But there was a few that actually paid attention. They was like, yeah, help us get these things right, because we want to make sure that people trust us with their information. We want to make sure we protect this. We want to make sure that this doesn't get into the wrong hands.
Yeah.
And then there was the forward-thinking charities like National Zakat Foundation, and they came in and said, okay, look, and this is like very recently, look, we had some really poor advice. We've done all of these things and it's actually impacting our business. People are coming onto our website, they're donating money and we can't communicate with them because we said GDPR reasons you can't. So it's like, well, that's not actually 100% correct. There are ways we can do this. And so we worked with them to find better ways to add strategic value through being fully compliant. And as a result of that work, they was able to, this last Ramadan and the Ramadan before, they was significantly, and I'm talking about 2, 3, 4 times, increased the amount of zakat that was collected because they was now able to communicate in a way they couldn't before. Right. So things like that, being able to tell people about the good work, being able to go and speak to people, call them, send them an email, send them a message with an update, with an invitation to contribute to something they're already passionate about. If you get the wrong advice as a charity, you're kind of cutting your hands off. You can't do it. And there's so many poor advisors out there that have been saying, oh, you can't do it, because they're taking that paper privacy pro mentality rather than how can we add strategic value and what does the business want to do and how do I align all of these things and serve the business rather than selling them a solution.
All right, let's move on with our conversation. Right. So let's talk about, as I said, I know you for a few years and I've heard you talking about this millionaire mindset as well. Like just an example, like someone who's making £30,000 a year, less than £30,000 a year, working in this country, they have got a day job, 9 to 5, Monday till Friday and stuff. What first mindset shift you will advise to them to aim higher? Because this is obviously no one is happy in,
Great question. I'm going to tie this into the last question, which I left unfinished. So you spoke about how did I get into it? So
yeah,
I've identified there are 5 core pillars to being successful in any vocation in life, right? So whether you want to be a data privacy professional, whether you want to get into anything, there's 5 core pillars that you have to focus on. And if you focus on these 5, then anything becomes easy. These are the 5 pillars that I share with my mentees. This is the 5 pillars that helped Taher, who was earning about 30 grand as an Uber driver, with no previous qualifications, no academic qualifications. The only other experience he'd had before that was working in the family restaurant.
Yeah.
Go from being an Uber driver to earning 6 figures as a world-class private pro and flying on private jets right now. Okay, it's the same one that's helped me. It's the same one that helps hundreds of my mentees across the world transition to data career professionals and then become 6-figure salaries. So first is mindset. You have to have the right mindset. And when we talk about mindset, everyone thinks, oh, it's hoo-ha, it's all of this stuff. But there is something called a fixed mindset and there's something called a growth mindset. And so we need to move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Somebody with a fixed mindset is very worried about how they look outside. So for example, they will not try things that they might fail at. They will not do something that would make them look like they don't know. They will only put their hand up if they know the answer. They won't have a go at things. Somebody with a growth mindset says, I'm only interested in feedback and I have to get things wrong to learn and grow. Otherwise, I won't grow. And so some people stay stuck where they are. Why do some people stay in the same job for 10, 15 years? Because they don't want to learn new skills because it's going to make them look inadequate. That's what they're worried about. So we need to move from that fixed mindset to the growth mindset where, you can achieve anything with effort. It's not the outcome. It's the effort that you put into it that counts.
Yeah.
And so once you transition to, okay, there is no such thing as failure. There's only feedback and I will keep growing and I will keep learning and keep trying things a different way. Then it becomes easier. Once you know that the score doesn't matter, it's the effort that goes into getting the score and the score will take care of itself.
Right.
then you're open to trying new things. You're open to learning. You're open to growing.
Yeah.
You also need to shift from a, what do I call it? A lack mindset or a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. And this is the biggest shift. Once you have those two big mind shifts, then everything else falls into place. So somebody with a scarcity mindset thinks, oh, you know what? If I teach somebody new skills, then they're going to take the projects or the jobs I'm going to have.
Insecurity. Yeah.
If I spend my money, then I will not have any more money. Right? They think there is only a finite amount of things and that it's either they have it or somebody else has it. Somebody with an abundance mindset knows there are plenty of roles, opportunities for everyone. There's more than enough for everyone. Somebody with an abundance mindset, so there's more than enough money to go around. There's more than enough provisions, resources. Whatever you look at it, there's more than enough of those things to go around. And so why don't I see how I can tap into some of that and help other people with it? So that's the difference. Anyone with a scarcity mindset will always, a scarcity and fixed mindset will stay stuck. Right? They might get lucky with some other one or two things, but they are going to be very, very limited with their opportunities and the kind of impact they have in the world. Somebody with a growth mindset who wants to make an effort, who wants to learn, who wants to grow, is going to have a completely different experience and they're going to have completely different impact, especially when you combine that with an abundance mindset. And so I was like, what is this abundance mindset? Because when you go and speak to wealthy people, when you go and speak to people who have done really well, who are self-made, they say the money is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. But when you grow up like me, poor, the money matters.
Yeah, exactly.
It matters.
It is.
Bro, I got bills to pay.
Exactly.
Right? I remember there used to be, my problem used to be at the end of the month, I wouldn't have money. And I used to be worried about the overdraft. The bank would charge me £30 every single time.
Yeah.
That was a big problem for me.
Yeah.
But I don't,
like
I don't have £30 problems anymore. I have £30,000 problems now, which is a better problem to have. But it shows you always have challenges wherever you go. And it's when they say it's not about the money, I finally get what they mean. It's not about the money, it's about everything else, and the money takes care of itself.
How does that happen? I don't know myself as well.
How it happens?
I get to hear, like, for example, like, let me give you an example, right? So, as a big businessman, and it's my practical example happening in front of me, and it was like around 20 quid, right? £20. And they were asking me for that £20 that day they happened, and then when they're going to return. I said, you don't need that £20. You have got plenty of money. You don't need. No. It's not about money. It's about the principle.
Yes, it's the principle.
What's up? Explain that to me.
Okay, so everything in life comes down to principles and values. People who stand for something, people who stand for principles, they see things through these things that are very important to them. And so it doesn't matter if it's £2 or if it's £20,000. It's not about the money. It's about the principle. This is what is right. This is what is important to them. And so they will focus on what's important to them. So that's principles. In terms of value, value is an exchange. Money is an exchange for value. So if you decide, I want to become a highly valuable person, I want to become a highly valuable professional, I want to become a highly valuable member of the community, the value will exchange for itself. Now, in some settings, it is a financial, monetary value that you'll get in exchange for that. In other settings, it will be respect. It will be opportunities. It will be status. So you'll always get an exchange of value. The question is, are you creating enough value to get that exchange? And this is why they say it's never about the money. It's about who you are and how you show up and the value that you bring to the table. So the more value you bring to the table in whichever setting it is, the more value you will receive as an exchange. It's just naturally, it happens. Like there has to be always equal and opposite. Every action, there's a reaction. So I realized very early on when they say it's not about the money, and I used to get really cross with them, somebody sat me down and explained, it's not, it's about the value exchange. So if you want to focus on the money, then you need to focus on adding high value. And that value has to be very apparent to people, so they want to give you lots of money in exchange for it. Or if you want something else, you always have to bring the value. Whether it's with people, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in your health, you have to always make sure there's an exchange of value.
So let's talk about your journey from an employee to an entrepreneur.
Hold on a second. Let me complete your question.
Okay, go on.
Right, so that was the first step, first pillar.
Yeah, of course. Mindset, you need to go to 5 pillars. Yeah, sorry about that.
First one is mindset, and I'll be quicker. Second one is subject matter expertise. So once you've got the right mindset, it's easy to build on that, because if you have the wrong mindset, the other 4 pillars don't matter because you've got the wrong mindset. So once you have the right mindset, the second thing is you need to become a subject matter expert. Okay, subject matter expert means you need to own your domain. Now, whether it's data privacy, whether it's becoming a dentist, whether it's going into becoming a creator, whatever it is, you have to have subject matter expertise. because that's what people will value and that's what will make you credible. So once you have the right subject matter expertise, you need to not know enough to talk about it, but you need to go beyond and know the breadth and the depth. So remember I said I did a deep research into Islamically, legally. I looked at everything. So subject matter expertise, there's a number of ways of learning from that. One is you can learn from books. Two, you can learn from courses. But you can also learn things that are not in the books. You can't teach yourself everything. And unfortunately, people with a fixed mindset think they can teach themselves everything. But you could never win a karate tournament by reading a karate manual and going into the ring.
No, you can't.
Right? You need someone to train you.
That's
and
right.
if you want to win, you need the best person to train you.
That's right.
So you have to find the right mentors.
Yeah.
And you have to go and speak to people who know. So subject matter expertise, seek out the best people. And there's always going to be multiple areas and sub niches. Make sure you figure out which one that you want to specialize in and specialize in that, but know enough of everything that comes around that before and after as well. And when I talk about subject matter expertise, it's not just enough to know about your domain. You have to have what I call business fluency. You have to be able to speak and understand businesses. They don't just care about one thing. Businesses are an organization, which means there's lots of different departments. And so you have to be able to at least get a general idea to be able to speak to people in a way that makes sense to them. Because when you speak to people in legalese or privacy language, they won't understand. It's not going to make sense to them. And when things don't make sense to people, they just ignore you and they go and do what they think is the right thing anyway, which here could have critical consequences for the business from a reputation point of view. It could have critical consequences for people from what happens with their data point of view. They could have their identities fraudulently created. That means they could have the bank accounts emptied. That means they could be denied access. They could have severe consequences.
Yeah.
Right? There was a data breach not too long ago where somebody was locked out of the NHS system. And because they couldn't get access to their blood type, that person died. Right? So when we talk about data breach, it's not just about, oh, someone's going to get into my social media account. And even if someone did, there's severe consequences.
Yeah, let's go into this in detail. Like from someone like me, I think data privacy and then, all that stuff is somebody just trying to steal my password or something and they get into my social media account. What's more into it? Just explain a bit if you can.
Right. So when you go online anywhere now, why does everyone want to give you cookies? Why does everyone say, hey, you can have this for free, but just watch these ads, or you have to pay if you don't want us to track you?
Yeah.
Is because information is the most valuable asset commodity right now. Right? Data is more valuable than oil. Oil used to be the most valuable asset. So if data is the oil, and that's the most valuable asset, what is the currency that you trade with it? The currency you trade with it is privacy. So data is the oil, privacy is the currency. It's the price you pay for your data. So companies see this data and they can make lots of money from selling your information or understanding what you're interested in. So let's say I come to your phone right now, and I just look at the last 24 hours, what you've been looking at. If I go on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, I can see what kind of things you're interested in.
Yeah.
If I go onto the articles that you've been reading, I can see what you're thinking about. If I go onto your WhatsApp, I can see what kind of groups you're with, what kind of people that you're having communications with. And out of those people, I can see how many people you respond to so quickly, how long you take in certain messages and how you ignore others. And so from that, I get a very good picture of who you are, what motivates you, and what I can sell to you, or how I can manipulate you. And that's what we had with the elections. This is why we have such a far right challenge in this country right now, is because they're being manipulated through their data based on their interest. You are seeing people being polarized. So I can see you're interested in something. If I wanted to influence you, I would now start sending you content that polarizes you and takes you down that way. And you will think that's reality. You're going to lose sense of what's common sense because you're bombarded. Every time you open your phone, emails, everything, you'll see all of those things. You're going to go deeper and deeper down that hole. So that's from the manipulation political side. But let's talk about real life consequences. Let's say you have a social media account. I go into your social media account. I've finally figured out your password. Okay. And I figured out your password. You know why? Because you went to a store, you set up an account because they said they want to get £10 off your 50 quid shopping. And they stored your email and password on a file and they just left it. They didn't think more of it. It's just an email for an account. Nothing's going to happen. You're probably never going to come back again.
Yeah.
But you know what, Majid? You got very poor password hygiene. You use that same email address and password everywhere.
What you're talking right now, I'm imagining it. Right? This
So
happened
now,
with me.
Let's say you got a cyber criminal. He's got that. Now he's going to go and say, okay, let's see magic. Let's Google him. What's he? Oh, he's on Facebook, he's on Instagram, he's here, he's here. Oh, he works for Islam Channel. Interesting. What else does he do? Oh, he's got banking here. Okay. Now, let me go and see all of these big accounts, how many of them I can get into with this. And let me just monitor what he does. Let me just go into his emails and see what's happening. And you decide you're about to buy a house. Okay. So now I've been patient. Now my payoff. And I'm going to send a message to the conveyancer as you, because I've got access to your email, saying, I've just changed my address and emails. This is where I want you to send the money. And because he knows everything about you, because he's been observing you all his life, it's very convincing.
Yeah.
But then they could be even more evil. Let's say I've got your social media. Let's say you've got certain images there of your family, of female members of your family. Let's say you've got certain images on any platforms of you. I can take that, create fake accounts and post that. I can take those images and blackmail you for money. I can hack into your WhatsApp and pretend I'm you. And I can go and ask people for money. You know, there was an imam that reached out to me not too long ago. And he said, brother, someone's hacked into my WhatsApp and they are asking people for money, saying they need to borrow it. I'm stuck in somewhere. And people are giving them, and they're giving them more than the money they've asked for. People love this imam. They love him, right? So imagine somebody like Mufti Menk. You've got him on your phone, he messages you and say, hey, I'm stuck and a bit of pickle. I just need £500.
I will do it.
You would say £5,000. What do you need? Tell me. I've got it.
True.
And this was the situation with this very well-known person. And that's what happens very easily. From what? From exploitation, from getting a basic information, collecting that, combining it with other things. People are losing their livelihoods from these things. People are losing their sanity. There's so much extortion that happens on social media from people getting access to their private spaces and exploiting those things and creating challenges. And like we could go on about this forever. And how do you exploit kids? This is how they're exploiting kids these days as well, going in, pretending to be someone they're not. So there's so much harm that comes from this, from different levels as well. It's not just, oh, someone's hacked into my account. What am I going to do? Change it again. Right? So you can change those things. But what happens is everything's biometric now. So if I get into one of your accounts, you can change your password. You can change your bank card. You can change your bank account. You can even move your home if you had to. How are you going to change your fingerprint? If I've got your fingerprint, how are you going to change that?
Never.
If I've got your iris scan, how are you going to change that?
Never. Can't do that.
And what is the level of damage I could do in the long term with that information?
Immense.
So this is it. This is why it's so important to pay attention to these things. So
we go on to the second one.
So subject matter expertise is very important, right? So we have mindset, we have subject matter expertise. So now you have the right mindset. Now you have the knowledge. But what do you do
with the knowledge?
Like you can't just go to the business and say, I have the knowledge. You're here to do the work. How do you operationalize that? Okay, this is what the law says. You know it. You have a really good understanding of frameworks. But how do you actually roll your sleeves up and go and put that into effort? So you need practical experience. And one of the challenges I found was everyone didn't want to hire me because I didn't have the experience. And so people often find themselves in this catch-22 situation when they're looking for new roles. I can't get the next job up because I don't have the experience. But if I don't have the experience, how am I going to, if I don't have the job, how am I going to get the experience? And so I was like, there has to be a way around this. And yes, so we focus on the practical understanding, the practical skills, the operationalization of that theory into practice. So that's step 3. So mindset, subject matter expertise, the practical competency.
Steps.
Not the experience, the competency. And one of the biggest challenges is people mistake experience for competence in their mindset, right? So experience is a strong indicator of competence, right? If I can see you driving, if I know you've been driving for the last 5 years, I know you're a competent driver. But that doesn't mean, just because you have 10 years experience, that you are a very competent driver. It just means you're competent, right?
That's a very good point.
So just because you've been doing something, you've been doing badly for 10 years, doesn't mean that you're better than somebody else at it. And so other ways to get competence is through training, is through practice. It doesn't have to be through direct experience. And that's what we focus on in the academy, is giving people these hands-on skills through competence. So we focus on competence. So you have to have practical competence. Next, it's your personal brand, right? It's your personal brand. Now, everybody has a personal brand, whether they care to admit it or not. What you have on your CV, what you have on your LinkedIn, what you have on your social media profiles, what you have in your digital footprint, that is your personal brand. Now, if you haven't thought about this and you're not actively and proactively focusing on your personal brand, then you've just left it to chance. In this current climate, you could be competing against hundreds, if not thousands of people for the same role. What's making you stand out? What's making you any different? Especially if you don't have the demonstrable experience. And if you have the same certifications as everybody else, why should they hire you? Especially when you look like me, or your name ends with Ahmed or has Muhammad, or whatever minority ethnic name they have, you're never going to stand out. So not only do you need to focus on actively building your personal brand, but you have to focus on getting visible. And you have to focus on getting visible by adding value and not going on TikTok and doing dances, because that's definitely not going to help you as a professional, right?
Definitely not.
So it's about personal branding. It's about how we show up. It's about the conversations that we have. And finally, it's about your network. I mentioned network before, but you have to make sure that you make the right connections, that the right people know about you. Not just know about you as in, yeah, that's who you are, but the value you bring. And so what took me from being an outsider in the industry to scaling quite quickly and becoming number one in a legally dominated space when I'm not the lawyer is ridiculous. Like if you go on the Favicon rankings, you look at the top 10, you'll see the other people are from Magic Circle law firms. You see they're from Magic Circle law firms, and then there's this brown guy at the top of the pyramid, number one. It doesn't make any sense, right? Alhamdulillah, but it doesn't make any sense. So it proves that you don't need a technical background, you don't need a legal background, you just need to have these 5 steps in place, and you can thrive in any environment as long as you're bringing the right amount of value.
That was amazing, because the thing is, that's what I was thinking when I was doing a little bit of research, and I know I've been listening to you talking on different shows on the channel as well. So I always get amazed how this is possible, but now it's all making sense. You had 5
those 5 pillars in any vocation.
All right, we talked about the mindset, but now let's move on to kind of your, I'm an employee, I'm working for someone. How, what you experienced, teach us, how can we go from an employee to an entrepreneur journey, and how quickly can we do that? Because sometimes it takes a long time for people, or they're doing a job and then at the same time do something on the side, never happening, and the job is there, stuck in the job, never become an entrepreneur, and this always leaves like a dream that I want to be an entrepreneur. But then can you summarize it for us, that how quickly can we do the journey from an employee to an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I mean, you could just give up on everything today and just start and go all in.
But then you don't need, you need resources for it, isn't it? You need to pay bills.
You could do that, but I wouldn't say that's very sensible. So what I would say is, first of all, actually go and spend some time with entrepreneurs and look at their lifestyle. Look at the kind of benefits they have and the costs. And
but on social media these days, everyone is just saying, oh, forget job, leave job, start working, start your business, this, that, and they're showing you a very amazing lifestyle they're living in. They've got cash and they're driving amazing cars and stuff. I feel like
that's a very curated feed for social media. That's their personal brand. That's what they're pushing because they're selling you something.
And that's what people get attracted.
Right? That's what they're selling you something. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, look, yes, there is that fast life and you can look at it, and the quickest way to do that is to go back to Stepney Green and go into that direction that we don't want to be.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Or you can actually think about it sensibly. Nothing is easy. Okay? Nothing is going to be easy. There is no magic pill. There is no magic solution. There is no get money quick. There is no way of getting rich quick. Okay? What you have to decide is, if I'm going to stop being an entrepreneur and become if I want to stop being an employee and become an entrepreneur, why do I want that? Is it because you want the lifestyle? Is it because you want the freedom? Is it because you want to be able to keep the money for yourself? Like, what is it that's driving you to do that? And to go and do that, find some of the best entrepreneurs that could be your mentors and have a look at their lifestyle and see if you like that. Because the best thing about being an employee is you switch on at 9, you switch on at 5, and it's not your problem. The worst thing about being an entrepreneur is there is no switching off. You're on the go 24 hours. Look, it's Sunday, I'm here, right? I'm speaking to you.
Yeah.
So there's no switching off, and it's a difficult situation when it's your business because you have to deal with everything. You are IT support, you are management, you are the caretaker. You have to pretty much do everything at the beginning. So first of all, make sure that you actually do want to be an entrepreneur. If you don't want to be an entrepreneur, be an entrepreneur. Find a company, find a role where you get rewarded for the effort that you bring in, and you have the freedom to do that. You can be an entrepreneur and you still have that balance. But if you want to move from being employed to becoming a consultant, then you have to really start thinking about what is the value that you're bringing to the table, what is your unique selling point, and who are the first 3 or 5 potential clients that you can have. A lot of people just think, hey, I'm just going to open up shop and people will come.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. It's like,
Doesn't.
I wish it did. It just doesn't
Sure,
work
it
like
doesn't.
that.
No.
Or, hey, I'm going to start offering data privacy services tomorrow. It doesn't work like that because there's so many other people competing in every single market for that same custom. You have to bring something different, something unique, something more valuable. And this goes back to what I was saying about being of value. When you focus on the value, the deals will come for themselves.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And so the value I bring to the table is my USP is I make things easy peasy. Okay, so it's for me, it's all about simplifying everything, and I created a framework that just really helped me with that. So this it's called the C5 framework, right?
Right. Okay.
I call it. The first thing is there has to be clarity. Okay, if there's no clarity, then you will never be able to provide value, and no one will see the value.
Of course.
So the first thing I say is there has to be clarity. Once there's clarity, there's confidence. If you come to me, let's say I'm the doctor, and you say, "Hey, doctor, I have a problem," and I say, "Okay, here's a prescription. Go." How much do you believe in that prescription?
No.
Don't. Because I haven't even asked you, what is the problem?
Exactly.
How long have you had the problem? How does the pain feel? Where is it? So we have to clarify. Okay. So the challenge with my industry was people were coming asking a question and they wanted to show how clever they were. And they're like, oh, it depends. Like you asked me a question, I said, it depends. If it's like this, then it's this. If it's like that, then it's that. If it's like that, then it's that. You're thinking, oh my gosh. You just wasted half an hour of my time. I still don't know.
And they confused more.
Yeah, you're more confused than when you first came to see
Exactly.
me, right? You're going to walk away saying thanks, but you're probably going to not be any wiser once you've left. You're not confident in what I've told you. So first, clarity. So if I ask you some question before I answer you, you'll be like, yeah, he really understood my problem. And so anything I say after that is you're going to have confidence. I have confidence too that I've understood the challenge. So first, we seek clarity. Then that gives confidence both to the person that you're serving and you knowing that, hey, I've actually served them well because I'm confident I've clarified the challenge that we're here to solve. When you have clarity and confidence, that gives credibility. And then that leads to what I call compliant work. Okay, compliant work, but also competence. If you don't understand, there is no confidence and you're credible, how can you do work that's compliant and how can you provide a competent solution? And finally, I speak about community. Okay, community is not just like as in a community, but who is it? Is it your stakeholders? Who are the people that you're socializing this with? You need to make sure that you've run that past them and that you embed with them so you understand and you're getting the feedback constantly. So for me, if you have these 5 C's and you follow them and in that specific order, just like those 5 steps, it's very difficult to get things wrong. It's very difficult to get things wrong. So whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an employee, you have to have this mindset of I'm here to add value. I'm here to serve. I'm not here just to, make the clock go from 9 to 5 or tick the box and say I've done the job, but actually own the work, bring the value in, find 1% way of doing everything better every single day. And if you focus on that with that growth mindset, then whether you want to be an entrepreneur, whether you want to be an employee, you're going to get good results and your reputation will precede you and you'll get headhunted for roles. So let's say you're doing 35 grand in compliance right now, or GRC, governance, risk and compliance professional. The moment you start adding value and you get visible and you follow that 5-step framework, you will have headhunters on LinkedIn saying, hey, we've got a company that needs somebody just like you. Your salaries get doubled. The amount of mentees we have in the academy whose salaries double within the first 6 months is crazy. And it's not because they're doing anything magical. They've had the potential in them this whole time. They've just never had the mentor or the right guidance to show the value that they can bring to the table, to show up as their best selves with the right identity, having that abundant mindset, having that growth mindset in place. And suddenly they become superstars overnight.
Okay, now you've got your business set up, your firm working. Just tell me now, like before I ask you about from an employee to an entrepreneur. Now I want to ask, like from a small firm to your journey to a firm which is globally recognized. How was that journey?
Alhamdulillah, when I think about that, just answering the question, it just kind of blows my mind where we go from like working in my bedroom.
Yes, and now it's globally
to where we have offices we have entities in the US, we have entities in Ireland, we have an entity here in the UK, nice shiny office in Aldgate. Come down, we have pizza party every Friday on the end of the month. You definitely have to come to the next one.
Inshallah.
So how did we go from one place to the other? It all comes down to adding value. Like the proposition that we had in the industry was about making things easy peasy. And all of these typical lawyers, they just make things hard and they speak to you in legal language and that doesn't land well with the business. And so I was one of my earlier projects was working across Europe, and I think I embedded it into about 13 different countries then. And word got around, hey, there's this guy here from the UK. He's not like the rest of them. He doesn't even wear, like, they all go in 3-piece suits. I was dressing like them. I wanted to make them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, he doesn't even wear a suit. You guys need to meet him. And so the word was going around, this guy's in town. It might be worth having a speak to him because they're all having similar challenges. And somehow that got passed on to a journalist from Euronews. And they were like, hey, we need somebody who can explain this without using all of these big things that our audience won't understand. And so I kind of got a little bit of exposure from Euronews, and Europe knew about me from there. And then from there, the BBC started getting in touch with me with big stories. They're like, hey, can you explain this to our audience, please? And what used to happen was, it was a great challenge, but unlike some channels, BBC don't tell you in advance what they're going to ask you. They put you on the spot. You're the expert. You do your thing. You never know what's coming. And somebody with a fixed mindset might have been like, hey, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to take this opportunity. I'm not even a lawyer. What are people going to say of me? Or someone with a growth mindset, like, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
I know my 5 pillars. I know my expertise. I know I can make it understandable to people. And so that created an opportunity for me to suddenly get recognized, be called the king of data protection by the BBC. And that became my personal brand. And from there, people started getting curious, but my work speaks for itself. Like, if you deliver the work, people will share good work. If you do bad work, people will go and tell 10 people, this is bad work. If you do good work, they'll go and tell 1 or 2 people, but that 1 or 2 people is enough for you to kind of become known for what you do. And so taking that whole easy peasy approach to USP, that's been the single greatest leverage that's allowed us to be, serve in all the different countries across the world. I've trained over 73,000 people in 137 countries.
73,000.
Over 73,000 people
in
137 countries across the world. I'm due to be flying out to Dubai in November to go and deliver some training to some companies there. I was flown to Malaysia, to Saudi Arabia, to different parts of Europe. And these companies, they can hire local lawyers, but they want me to come and help them with their programs. They want me to come and train their professionals and executives because they see the value that I bring that they can't get anywhere else. And that's the power of making things easy peasy. That's the power of having the right mindset, but actually speaking to the business in language they can understand. And so when you position yourself with so much value that they're going to pay a premium to have you, they're going to fly you out, they're going to cover your expenses and your hotel, then you know, hey, I'm doing important work, but it's not just enough for me to do it. I need other people to be able to do that too. And that's why I created the Privacy Pros Academy. So together we could have a much bigger impact, because what I'm doing is just a tiny drop in the ocean. And I have this very big vision where I want to create a world, or I want to see a future where everyone is empowered and protected by their privacy rights everywhere. And coming from South Asians background, we know there's challenges with even understanding the value of privacy.
Exactly.
And I remember I was in...
even though this is in our deen, that was the example you gave earlier.
Yes. The Islam is better, but people, Muslims, and the culture gets in the way of it. And here's this thing that really shook me. So there was this delegation of like ministers, CEOs and stuff that came from Bangladesh to the UK government here, and I was invited because of my background and what I do there. And one of the challenges I said is, look, you guys are going to struggle to do business with anything that's service related with the UK because you don't have strong data privacy laws, and I've been advocating for that in Bangladesh for some time now. And eventually one CEO got sick and tired and he said, hey, Jamal, stood up. Why is this data privacy you keep talking about? Do you know, in the village where I come from, anybody will give up the rights of his dad, his granddad, and his great-grandfather to download one free song. That's the country that we're dealing with. And I was like, you are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But that's the challenge. That means we're not advocating enough. That means they don't understand these basics enough, and that we don't accept that. We don't just accept that to be the status quo. We want to mature the privacy understanding.
So what do we do? We start conversations,
And this is one of the reasons you'll see me on channels like Islam channels like community channels, is because it's about advocating, creating that awareness, because we have to have privacy rights and power everyone everywhere, because when we get it wrong, we can see what happened. When we get it wrong with our kids, they're exposed on social media to sexploitation and all of these things. People are committing suicide. It's not safe space for people to be. We just be careless with their data anymore. And the more people get digitized, the more we become reliant on devices and the internet, the scarier and the more frightening it's going to become. And then we have AI.
Yeah.
Right? This is the biggest challenge that we have. And there is no getting away from it. AI is the future. But AI, like money, like social media, like the internet, is just a tool. It's going to get amplified in the hands of people and the energy they bring to it. So if I have a hammer, you can use that hammer to build homes, or you can use that hammer to smash homes.
It's just a tool.
It's the energy. So AI is an energy, but evil people are going to try and do very evil things with it. So it's up to us to say, hey, we want to be part of the solution and help companies understand AI governance, how to use AI responsibly. What are the kind of red lines that they shouldn't cross, and work together to put those things in place, because AI governance also ties into data privacy. And there's a huge opportunity and a huge market out there, and there aren't enough professionals out there right now who are equipped to serve the best companies with the real value that they need to get these things right.
Jamal, you mentioned just AI, so I just wanted to ask this. I heard it somewhere, they say internet created so many millionaires, but AI will create way more millionaires than the internet did. Is that true? I'm just asking a question which is...
I believe so. I believe so.
And why is that?
The reason why is, before the internet came in, for you to be able to sell something to somebody, you had to go and meet them physically. The resources, the time, you can only be in one place at one time. With the internet, you could be anywhere, anytime. You could be in multiple places. So it's giving you leverage, right? And so when you've got those tools, and now you add something like artificial intelligence, where historically it would have taken you hours, days, months to do something, and you can do that within 10 minutes, within 5 seconds. Think about the leverage that's given you. And if you can then change that into a way where you can exchange value, it's going to become very easy to become very wealthy very quickly. It's just the value of change. You've got teenagers sitting in their bedrooms who have gone to this, they have the technical understanding, and they're saying, okay, how can I solve problems? I'm going to create AI agents. They call a business, say, hey, you've got this challenge. Right now, you've got 30 employees trying to do this thing. I can create an AI agent for you that could mean you could do it with 2 people, as long as they know how to run this agent. Would you pay me $5,000 for that? Of course they're going to pay $5,000. You're just going to replace 30 people or 28 people. Why wouldn't they? It doesn't make any sense. Save money, And AI doesn't get tired. AI doesn't need a break. AI doesn't go on sick leave. AI doesn't have relationship problems. AI doesn't have meltdowns.
Nothing.
So the future is there. It can make better. It can help us make better decisions, faster decisions. It can analyze data so quickly and give us output so quickly, which others would have taken us a long time to do. And then we can automate all of those things. And the people that understand how to get these tools and solve problems and exchange value, businesses will throw their money at them.
OpenAI CEO, he said that if this is a great time to be like coming out of university, or you're in early 20s and stuff, create your own one-man company, $1 billion company is the greatest time. So I was like,
well, I don't know about $1 billion company, because if you look at all the $1 billion companies, you can see that there is steps that need to take in place. But I agree, like there's never been a better time to be here, because look, the internet, it's what, 20 years old, 30 years old, it's old, right? Data privacy, it's old, but it's not that old. The best time to get into data privacy was a long time ago. The second best time is now. But AI is so new. Nobody knows more than anybody else.
That's right.
Okay? There's some of us who have expertise. There's some people who know a little bit more. But if you look at 95% of the population, they won't know more than you right now. And so because of this first mover advantage, because it's so novel right now, you can actually go and make a really big difference and make a big impact, because the market is there to be taken.
That's right.
The market is there to be created.
Yeah.
It's up to you to take advantage of those opportunities by adding value, genuine value.
Sticking on this one last question about this. If any young person watching and, all right, let's talk about someone, Bangladesh. You talk about Bangladesh, right? Tell me about Bangladesh. How is technology, AI, and how is the youth in Bangladesh, if you're in touch, if you want to touch upon that? I want to understand a little bit. But what's going on?
Unfortunately, I haven't had enough exposure to the youth in Bangladesh, especially with the AI, to be able to do any justice to that question.
Sure. Okay, let's talk about failure. We talk about success all the time. Like like this person is successful on internet, you're scrolling down, this is millions of pounds, this guy is millions of dollars, driving this car, driving that car, all that stuff. Let's talk about failure. How one should deal with a failure in their lives. And if you have gone through any, just please.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been through so many failures. I mean, you go through failure to failure. So my motto is fail quick and fail fast. Right. So I actually love failing because it gives me a good opportunity to get feedback. So remember, I've embedded this growth mindset where there is no real such thing as failure unless I stop and I give up, but it's only feedback. Let me paraphrase another story for you. So Thomas Edison, right? Is the guy, that's why we have lights, he installed the light bulb. He created the light bulb. So there was a reporter that went to Thomas Edison, and Edison had been trying for a long time now to light up a room through anything other than a candle. And the reporter says, hey, how does it make you feel that you failed 1,000 times creating the light bulb? And Edison turns around to him and says, failed? What do you mean failed? I know 1,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. What do you know? And when I heard that story, I was like, yes, I really go for failure. And some of the mentors that I've had, they teach you there's no such thing as failure. The only failure is not moving forward. The only failure is not trying. You go and try something. And if you keep trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome, that's insanity. So don't do that. Try something, figure out, tweak it, try a different way.
Yeah.
Go and speak to somebody who might know. And it's never a question of how do I do this? It's who can help me do this. Go and find somebody that can help you, point you in the right direction. And so when it comes to failing is the best way of learning. And learning helps us progress. And so I encourage people to go out and fail, but make sure that you take calculated risks. Fail in things that you can actually afford to fail, but fail quick and fail fast, because then you learn and then you get up the next step. I failed 73 times to get a first role. But each time I took something from it. And then I got 3 offers at the same time. And since then, I've never had to apply for a single job ever again. People come after you. So I learned so many things through those 73 failures. Right? And it took me to learn all those lessons now to be sat where I am and enjoy the benefits of those failures. So failing is very good. Failing is very important. And you need to be enthusiastic about failing, but fail quick and fail fast.
Okay, let's try to wrap it up now. Let's do a quick fire round. I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions. Okay, your favorite tech book?
My favorite tech book, probably Containing Big Tech by a guy called Tom Kemp.
All right. A piece of advice you give yourself, 18-year-old yourself. A piece of advice.
The only limitations you set are the ones you set for yourself. Like, you can do and have anything you want. If you believe you can do it, find a way to do it. The only things you can't do are the things that you convince yourself that you can't.
Right. The biggest privacy myth people believe?
You need to have a legal background or a technical background.
The proudest moment of your career so far?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say, what has been the proudest moment of my career so far? I can't actually say. There's been so many highlights.
What about your parents? What did they feel about you?
My parents, I don't even know they know I understand what I do properly. My dad asked me the same question over and over again. I tried so many times to explain them to me. So I just say I work in IT, and they're like, okay, get it. Right? But they're proud to see me on the BBC. They're proud to see me becoming awarded a free man of the City of London. They're proud to see me be recognised as one of the most 100 influential people in the UK. They're proud to see me going about my stuff, conducting myself as a Muslim, being apparently Muslim, and making sure that I'm putting my faith first. So there's so many different wins. I couldn't pick one single thing that I'm most proud of. I would say there is one thing that I am very pleased about, was becoming an author. And not just becoming an author, but becoming a best-selling author, and then becoming an international best-selling author. Because they told me, you're not a lawyer. All the other legal textbooks are written by lawyers. All the other textbooks are written by middle-class, middle-aged white people. And so who do you think you are? You're going to write a book and publish it? And so I did write the book and I did publish it because I could see the value it was going to bring to the table. And it became a bestseller before release. And every single day for the last 27 months, it's been #1 in at least one Amazon market in the world.
That's amazing.
I mean, alhamdulillah, I couldn't do anything about it. It's all from Allah, but that is something that I'm very pleased about. And the reason for that is because as soon as I published the book, there was 2 white middle class, middle-aged men in the industry who were very well known at the time, who had bigger audiences than me. They got together and they started attacking me. They attacked the book, even though they hadn't read it yet. They hadn't read the book, they was attacking the book. Then they started attacking my academy. Then they started attacking my consultancy. Then they started attacking me as a person. And that was very difficult time to swallow, because I put all of this time, effort, energy. Publishing a book isn't easy.
Yeah.
And the kind of way it was received wasn't easy. And so they was doing everything they could to sabotage me, to destroy me, to shut me down, because they didn't like this brown Muslim guy coming in and taking our spaces. Why am I not on the BBC? Why is he on there? Why is he representing the UK at those international conferences? The kind of jealousy, the vitriol, they was doing everything they can. And still, there's a few people out there who are trying to tear me down all the time. And so I was like, the book has to do the speaking for itself. So being faced with all of that and the kind of emotional trauma that came with all of that, to in their face every single day it's a number one. Every single day you see someone in the industry posting about the book, sharing about the book. That really makes me feel good.
Okay, you've been named one of the top 100 most influential people in the UK. So Jamal, just tell me what legacy you want to leave. You're young, mashallah, yourself, but the younger people there, the next generation there, what legacy do you think in this fast-paced world you want to leave behind?
I think if there was one thing that I could leave behind, it is to believe in yourself and to move forward, regardless of whether you're man or woman, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of your religion, regardless of anything that you might think is going to be the thing that holds you back. Like, no limitations. If you believe in something and you found a way to create that value, then you should just go for it and try and create as much of an impact on the world as you can. My reason for doing this comes all the way back down to the beginning of the story I told you. My wife was pregnant for the first time. That baby didn't survive. Allah took her back. I survived for 20 minutes. The next year, we had twin boys. We were blessed with good news. So I was like, wow, Allah takes one and gives me two. Noah survived for 2 weeks. Isaac survived for 8 days. So by the time I buried my third child, I was a mess. My life was over. I could just see darkness everywhere. I didn't know if it was day or night. When I had phone calls, I pretended everything was fine. I showed the face, but inside there was turmoil. It was anguish. I didn't want to be in the world anymore. I didn't want nothing to do with anything. And it was only when I started getting involved in charity work, I felt a little bit good, like, okay, there is some good. I can make a difference. And I decided to do that charity work as a legacy in honor of my children. And I created this thing called our Children of Jannah. And we've come on the Islam channel spoken about this. But through that, it helped me kind of find myself back. And I was like, what can I do as a legacy? So when I meet my children in Jannah, inshallah, I can tell you I have had a good impact. And I was like, you know what? I want to make sure that every man, every woman, and every child has freedom over their personal information in every part of the world. And so for me, what are you going to say to me as a hater or do to me that's worse than bearing 3 children? You can't say or do anything to me. It doesn't mean anything. I've been through that and I've survived that. Do whatever you want. It doesn't make any difference to me. But what I do want to do is I do want to help people, and I'm going to do that as a legacy. I'm going to light up the world with some positivity, so that when I go back and say to my children, hey, from the pain from that, I turned it into something good, and this is what I did as a legacy for you guys. And so that's my drive. And so all of these awards, achievements, alhamdulillah, it's all from Allah. But my driver isn't any single destination point or to do this. Like, when you do the good work, all of the acknowledgement comes for itself. You get recognized for the good work. If you have enough value and people get more value from your work than the money or whatever they've exchanged for you, they will tell more people. And alhamdulillah, so far so good. Like, through the academy, we've helped so many people transform their lives, transform their careers, transform their families through these things, that there's so many people giving prayers. I have so many, there's women that I've trained in the academy. Their mothers call me and thank me for giving them the daughter back. They're a completely different person. They are so much happier because they found that confidence in themselves. There's people that go through life and they find themselves stuck in these horrible jobs, in toxic environments, where they kind of withdraw and lose back. And being able to help those people, coach them out of that and show them, hey, there's so much more value that you bring to the table. And suddenly they're rewarded, suddenly they're recognized, suddenly they feel good about themselves. And when you feel good about yourself, you show up better for other people. You show up better for your loved ones, for your family. So the work that we do has such a transformative impact. And everybody else in the industry that does training, they just teach you how to pass an exam. They don't focus on the mindset.
Yeah.
They don't focus on the personal branding. They don't focus on you actually becoming a subject matter expert. Memorize these things and you'll pass the exam. Here's the answers.
Yeah.
Here, they actually give you mock exams and say, here, just go and pass this. But how's that person going to be someone that shows up?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between my mentees and the rest of the industry, is they outcompete them every single time. They outcompete them every single time because they know the value they bring. They've had the training. They've got the right mindset. They know the knowledge. They know how to go and talk to the business in a language the business understands, rather than just go and sell people solutions that tick the box and they are compliant.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ramjot.
Thank you.
Amazing.